Okay, researchers, anyone need more time? You guys inputted the score in your grade. Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, good morning, guys. We're gonna get started. My goal today is to finish as much as I can on 3.2. But I wanted to show a few videos before we jump into 3.2, before we talk about the eyes and ears and senses. And then if we have time, maybe we can jump into the third PowerPoint on the endocrine system. But if not, we'll finish it on Monday. Next week, Wednesday, and whatever time on Monday we have, we'll review. And then your test will be next week, Thursday for you guys. Okay. And then after that, there's only like 2 more weeks. So we'll probably only cover 1 more unit and then 2 more third quarter. Okay. We'll cover units 5, 6, and 7 in second quarter. And then start on our mannequin project, which will be a lot less taxing on your brain, hopefully. You're going to have to use your artistic creativity side. Yeah. Okay, but anyways, let me pray for us. And then I have a few videos to show you, as promised from last class. And then we'll get started. That's great. Father God, thank you so much for this day. Thank you for my students. I pray that as we take a look at the senses, how our eyes and ears and action potentials and the endocrine system works and all these different hormones that are produced by all these different glands in our bodies. I pray that it would give us a better understanding of how these things work together to communicate in our bodies. I pray that it would also emphasize the importance of good communication as even a good analogy for our everyday communication with other people. I pray that it would help us to think about and be able to understand how different things that affect our bodies in our communication work as well, how drugs affect our bodies, how different medications might affect our bodies, and how the nervous system is so intricately designed to work with our endocrine system. So I pray that these things would bring you honor as we study them today, and so please help me teach, help us to learn from one another. Let me pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, a couple videos though. The first one, I mentioned that the other day for the brain. Actually, let's do this real quick with your neighbor. See if you can recall what are the different parts of the brain and what do they do. Starting from the cerebral cortex to the brainstem. Okay, go. Take about 1 minute. Review that with your neighbor. Yeah. Is like talking and speech there and I think or oh yeah, it's basically the one that looks yeah. There's one where it's like okay, finish up in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So I'm gonna show you guys of 2 videos, and these individuals have a problem with one area of their brain. We've been able to trace it to a specific spot on their brain that is like no longer active. And so these 2 spots, they're named after the scientists who kind of discovered this. We have what we call Broca's area and Wernicke's area. If you were to take a guess, what lobes of the brain are they on? I'll Broca's area first. Okay, what? Temporal area, kind of like on the back of the frontal maybe, but yeah, mainly temporal. How Wernicke's? Okay, it might be like, yeah, on the border of occipital and what is on the top here? Parietal and the temporal, kind of where they all meet together. Okay, so take a guess. How do you think that might affect if this area was not working anymore? What kinds of things might that affect? Okay, your hearing, your speech. Okay, how about Wernicke? Okay, understanding of speech. Okay, so here we go. Pretty interesting video. Here we go. This is Broca's area. This individual Broca's area is affected. Hold on, let me- All right, so how would you describe this problem? What is the problem he's facing? Okay, yeah, he cannot he has an idea in his head, but he cannot communicate it. And so that's what we call Broca's aphasia. Aphasia is something that affects your speech and communication. Okay, so that's oral lobe. And the next one is Wernicke's. There you go. Okay, what's wrong with Wernicke's area? Okay. So what is okay? His sentences are a little bit incoherent. Is he understanding the question? No, not at all. So although he hears the question, he knows how to talk, he knows English. For some reason, that one spot in your brain helps you to understand what other people are saying to you. Okay, so yeah, it's just a fascinating how a lot is it's unfortunate, but a lot of times the way we understand how the brain works is by looking at people whose brain doesn't work, and oh, this part doesn't work. that part must control the ability to understand information. Okay. Yeah. So really fascinating. Different parts of the brain. If a Wernicke's talks to another Wernicke's, no, yeah, not at all, not at all. Yeah, that would be a very fascinating conversation. But yeah, um,
It was just like saying a bunch of sentences in one sentence.
yeah, and his sentences were not even joined together, right? A lot of it was kind of random. But see, like 50 years ago, people would say, "Oh, this guy is just crazy, like mentally retarded. Like, what is he doing?" But now we know it's largely because he had a stroke, and there's this part of the brain that doesn't work, that's not even on anymore. And so that part used to control his understanding of information, his joining of sentences, joining of context, right? When you answer a question, you usually try to provide some context before you answer the question. Yeah. Okay. Next thing. So open up your notebooks, or not your notebooks. Turn to page right there, 50. Turn to page 50 real quick. Okay. Before we move on to the senses, there's an important thing that I want to briefly talk about. There's only one question on this on the test. For you guys in AP Bio, this will be super important. It is like usually talked about on the AP exam as at least once. Okay, so we have these things called action potentials. I've been talking about action potentials a lot. It wasn't on there. It was, right. This topic is really important, and it's kind of complicated. So I want to try to explain it to you in a way that will help you to understand it a little bit better. We will come back to this. Probably, actually, will we just come back to this? Yeah, we might come back to this a little bit when we talk about the heart, because the heart, when it communicates, it has the same kind of patterns. Okay, so entitle this page at the very top. I want you to, or actually kind of says on the paper, circle it, highlight it, entitle it action potential. Okay, this is page 50. Okay, yeah, this is called an action potential. This action potential is a fancy word for electrical impulse. It's a fancy word for electrical impulse. Okay? When your nerves send information, it sends an electrical impulse. So I'm going to try to explain it to you first, and then we'll watch this really good. I think this is the best video on how nerves work and how action potentials work. It's done by Ted Ed, so they keep it pretty simple. I'm going to try to explain it to you broad picture first. Okay, top right hand corner, you have the axon. Okay, and notice that I've taken a segment of the axon. When your neuron wants to pass on that information, electricity is generated. Now, the reason why this is very difficult for us to understand is because we don't understand how electricity works. How many of you guys have taken physics or physics? A few of you guys. Okay, so maybe some of you might have a little bit of exposure. Electricity is basically when there's charges moving, electrons that are moving. Okay, whenever you have charges moving back and forth, you get electricity. Same thing for your axons, except this time it's not electrons moving, it's actually different ions moving. So notice on your paper, step 1 of the action potential, there is this Na that goes into the axon. You guys all see that? You guys remember what Na is in chemistry? Good, sodium. Okay? When an action potential begins, you have sodium that comes into the axon. Now notice, what charge is sodium? Positive. You see the little positive right next to sodium? Okay. Sodium is positively charged. And so guess what that makes the inside of the axon more? Makes it more positive. Yeah, don't think too hard. When sodium's move in, it makes the inside more positive. Now if you look at this graph to the left here, notice those steps correspond. Okay, when you're sending a signal, when you're sending an electrical signal, sodium's move inside. What happens to your charge? It goes from -70 to +40. It goes to +40. This is called depolarization because your cell is not polar anymore. It used to be -70, outside was positive something, but now it's going to 0. It's not polar anymore. And in fact, it's going past 0. It's going positive. You guys all see that? Okay. Once that happens, the signal moves to the next segment of the axon. And that that first part, step 1, resets. How does it reset? It resets by pumping potassiums out of the cell. Okay, so notice step 2, you have K. You guys see K there? What is K? Chemistry. Potassium. Good. So potassium moves out of the axon. What does that do to the charge? Since potassium is also positive. Charge becomes more negative. Okay, and that's why I notice on the graph, right, you have this thing called repolarization. Potassium moves out and it goes back to almost normal. Okay, it goes back to negative 70. Okay, there is a period called hyperpolarization. I want you to write this under hyperpolarization. Hyperpolarization. Sorry, my asthma is kicking up again. AC. Hyperpolarization prevents it from going backwards. It prevents the impulse from going backwards. Okay, hyperpolarization, it gets like to like negative 90, and it prevents you from being depolarized and it going the opposite direction. Okay. Notice step 3. Step 3, that first segment has reset. Now the second segment is pumping out potassium, and the third part right next to it is being depolarized with sodium. So you guys see how what happens in a split second is this movement of charges, this movement of ions, slowly moves all the way down the axon. And we see it as just an electrical shock, like bzzz. It just goes bzzz. But what's happening is that these charges are moving in and out of the cell. Okay? Does that make sense? Questions? Okay. Any questions? All right, I want you to try to explain it, and then you'll see it in like live motion. Try to explain it to your neighbor. What are those 3 steps that happen? What's happening on the graph? What's happening to the charges? Move on. Yeah, you'll probably. I gotta bring my inhaler to school now, man. Asthma's so bad. I'm recording it too, so for Jillian and. Okay, here we go. So I'm gonna show the video. Hopefully this makes more sense. This is how nerves. It's entitled "How Do Nerves Work." Specifically, how much negative charge is the cell on your paper? Negative 70, negative 70 millivolts. Yep. And it's just because there's less positives inside. There's less positives outside the cell than inside the cell. Okay, does that video kind of make more sense when it's all moving together? Okay. And this last part was important where we talked about the synapse. These are the ACHs. Okay. Once it gets to the end of the axon, it turns into a chemical messenger, which is called a neurotransmitter, and it moves to the muscle and activates the muscle. All right. But hopefully that makes more sense before we move on to Unit 2. Okay. But today, our main goal is to cover Unit 2, which... Yeah, go to page 52. Yeah, go to page 52. By the way, I am not going to require you to memorize all the nerves. Okay, there's like 12 nerves that's on the previous page. You do not have to memorize it. Although if you do and you memorize its name and like what it controls, I'll give you some anatomy bucks if you memorize them. Okay, but you don't have to do that for the test. Okay? All right. Just have to recite them to me at some point. Okay, here we go. So we're going to jump in. We ended yesterday by talking about the reflex arc. And then we also talked about 5 different receptors. Okay, you guys, let's try to recall them. What are the 5 different receptors in our body? The first one does touch, starts with an M. Remember? Okay, mechanoreceptors, they register mechanical information. We have mechanoreceptors. We have any others? Thermoreceptors, which do heat. What else? Okay, photoreceptors receives light energy. Okay, like a photograph, it needs light in order for your camera to capture it. Okay, what else? Anything else? Chemoreceptors is chemicals, so like your taste buds and your nose. And then, am I missing one? Oh yeah, pain, okay, which is nociceptors. Okay, we're gonna focus on 2 of those. And so, actually, we're gonna start off by looking at them generally. You have what we call general receptors and specialized. General means like broad, right? So the only general sense that we have is what we call touch. And here's the reason why, and jot that down. So what are the 5 senses? We have touch, smell, taste, sight, and hearing. Okay, those are our 5 senses. Touch is what we call general because there's different kinds of touch. There are pressurized touch. There's stretching touch. There's vibration touch. There's other different kinds of specialized touch. Okay, so touch is actually general. Okay, the sense of touch is a very general sense. The rest are special. Okay, so write down special senses. What are the special senses? Okay, the special senses are the rest of them. Vision, smell, taste, hearing, and balance. Those would be special senses. Okay, so on the test, I could ask you which one of these is a general sense, and you would say touch is the only general sense. Okay, the rest of them are specialized. You don't have different kinds of vision. Well, I guess you have color and black and white, but you don't have any different types of vision. You don't have different types of smell. There's different smells you register, but not different types of smell. Okay? Yeah. Balance is considered a sense. Yeah. So there's 6 senses. Yeah.
Lie to us.
They lied to you. Yeah. I mean, they say that you have other kinds of sense, like you have sense of time, you have sense of spatial awareness where you are in space, right? You can tell if you're upside down or not, even if your eyes are closed. Okay, turn to your neighbor real quick. What are the 6 senses? Which one of them is special? Okay, and why? Okay, go. Yeah, that's exactly what you said. Okay, finish up in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So today, I get to teach you one of the most complex organs in your body, which is the eyeball. And it's very complex. This you should put down next to all of your eyeball picture in the top left-hand corner or in the bottom right-hand corner of that page. Okay, we're going to start with the basics. So vision has light receptors in there. Those light receptors, they register, they're activated by electromagnetic waves of a very small range of frequencies. You cannot see infrared, although that'd be kind of interesting. And you can't see ultraviolet. Some insects can. We only see red, the spectrum of red all the way to blue. Okay, Roy G. Biv. So we have photoreceptors in our eyeballs that give us our vision. We'll talk about what 20/20 actually means in 3rd quarter, but that's kind of the basics for vision. Your eyes have actually accessory structures that protect your eyes. So for example, your eyebrows, I don't know if you ever wonder what is your eyebrows there for? Besides facial expressions, it's there to, when you sweat, if you don't have eyebrows, if you were to shave your eyebrows, your sweat would run straight down into your eyes. I don't know if you realize that or not. But because your eyebrows are there, it kind of redirects it a little bit. Maybe not, not perfectly, but yeah.
Bald people carry a towel around so they can wipe it off. They just carry a towel around.
Maybe. Yeah, there's a point to that. Okay. Another thing that protects your eyes are your eyelids and your eyelashes, of course. What do those things do for your eyes? Okay, they protect things from going into your eyeball, right? Okay, so your eyelids, your eyelashes, they prevent you from having things in your eyes. There is one more important thing called the lacrimal apparatus. Okay, at the very corner of your eye, there is a hole that is connected to a gland, the lacrimal gland, and that is the thing that produces tears. Okay, the lacrimal gland produces tears, and what's interesting is that your tears are actually have a little antibiotic inside of them called lysozyme. And so when you cry, you kill all these bacteria on your face. I also mentioned this that there are also tiny holes right by the corner of your eye that lead into your nose, and that's why when you cry, what happens? It drains into your nose, and you get sniffly nose. Yeah. Okay. It's because your tears are draining. Okay. But anyways, not super important, but just to mention those things. Okay. Your eyeball also has a whole bunch of different muscles. Okay. You are not. I could test you on these muscles, but I am not going to test you on these muscles. Okay? You do not have to know these muscles. Just know that there's muscles that control your eyes moving. Right, your eyes would not be able to move if there weren't muscles attached. There's these tiny muscles that are attached to your eyes. Okay, look how many muscles. Crazy. Okay, here's where you got to start noting things. Okay, so let's say I were to pluck out my eye and look at it and start cutting layer by layer. Okay, the outermost layer is what we call the fibrous layer. Okay, it would be the color white. Actually, just like your eye is white, it would be all white all the way around. It is called the sclera. The white part is called sclera. The very front part of your eye is called the cornea. The cornea is also transparent, so you can't really see it. The cornea is it's literally like a contact lens right in front of the colored part of your eye. Okay, so the cornea and the sclera, that makes up the fibrous layer. Does that make sense? Okay, those two things make up the fibrous layer. I think it's already on your paper. Just take note of it, circle it, highlight it. Okay. Cornea is a protection on your eye. In high school, actually, was it in high school or college? I think it was in college, actually. In college, I was playing pickup basketball with a bunch of friends. And one of my friends, I don't know why, but he had super long, like almost filed fingernails. And he's playing basketball with us, yeah. He's playing basketball. He's about yay high. His name is Jonah, left-handed guy. And he's guarding me because he's about the same height as me. I'm playing like shooting guard. He's guarding me. I dribble, I drive in. He puts his hands up and he stabs me in the eye with his super sharp fingernails. And like for a moment, I'm like, dude, I think my eye just got poked out. Like I think I'm gonna go blind. But I open my eye a little bit and I'm like, okay, I can still see, so it's good. It's good. So I go home. It's still kind of weird, but I can see through it. I kept playing. I go home and I look in my eye, look in the mirror, and there's like this slash, and I have a scar. I don't know if you can see it. There's a pink line that goes right here, and can you see it, Sydney? Like right here. Okay, there's a little pink scar tissue right there. And I was like, oh dude, and it was red at the time. And so I was like, okay, well, I guess I went to the eye doctor. He said, okay, if the slit was a little bit more towards the middle, you would have slit open your cornea, and the juices would have started coming out of your eyes. Ew. I know. It's a good thing that didn't happen, but I had to wear an eye patch so I wouldn't, move it around too much. Okay. Cornea though is a protection on your eye. Okay. Yeah. I was laughing at that. Okay, moving on. Okay, next layer of your eye. Okay, if you were to take off all the white of your eye, the sclera, underneath would be a red, kind of pinkish color. Okay, you kind of see it here. Okay, red pink. This is called the choroid layer. Okay, choroid layer. This is the place that you have all of your blood for your eye. Okay, so yeah, my eye was bleeding when I went to sleep and I woke up. My eye was glued shut with blood. So I just took some water and put it on my eye, and it dissolved the blood. I could open my eye again. Yeah, with the eye patch. Okay, so choroid layer, Okay, it has your blood. It has your eye muscles. This is where your eye muscles, your intrinsic eye muscles. Sorry, take a step back. The fibrous layer is where all of your muscles attach to your eye, so you can move around. Vascular layer is where you have your internal eyes, okay, your internal muscles, okay, specifically this thing right here, okay. So I want you to turn to your neighbor, look at their eyeball, okay, look at their eyeball. Yeah, a little bit awkward, it's okay. There's a lot of awkward things that happen in the medical field, okay. Look at their eyeball, okay. You guys see the color part of their eye? The color part of the eye is called the iris, okay. It is actually a muscle. And it controls how big your pupil is, that little black spot in your eye. Okay, so jot that down, identify the iris on your paper, okay, and write down that it's a muscle that can open or close that black part. Okay, so we're gonna do something real quick. I'm gonna turn off all the lights. I want you to look at your partner's eye. Okay, so look at your partner's eye. Okay, and I'm gonna turn on the lights and watch what happens to their eye. Okay, ready? Everyone looking? Okay, it's pretty cool. Look at their eyes. Okay, I can turn on the lights. Watch what happens. What happened? Okay, some of you guys saw it. What happened? Okay, your pupils should have gone like this. They should have started off big and then constricted. You guys didn't see that? Try it again. Okay, try it again. Try it again. Actually, look at somewhere dark in the room. Look at somewhere dark in the room. Okay, and then look at your partner. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. You guys saw it? You guys saw it? Okay. So that's what your iris controls how it lets in. If it's dark, it lets in light. If it's too bright, it constricts. So that because there's too much light. Does that make sense? Okay, and that's the colored part of your eye. The black part of your eye in the very middle is called your pupil. That is actually just a hole. It's a hole, yeah. So when you look at somebody's eye, you're literally looking into their eye if you're looking at their pupil. Your eye doctor, right? Your eye doctor shines a light. That light shines into the hole, and they can look inside your eyeball through that hole. That's what they're doing. Yeah, which is pretty crazy. So when you're looking at somebody's pupil, it's just a black hole there. When that hole gets bigger, it's just a gap. There's nothing there. You could stick if your cornea wasn't there, you could stick a little stick in there, and there's nothing there. It's just a hole. Okay. Okay. Moving on. So iris, pupil. Okay. The inner layer of your eye, the most important part of your eye. Okay, it's called the retina. Okay, not the retina. My roommate would always call it the retina. Would always make fun of him. Okay, it's called retina. Okay, can you guys say retina? Okay, the retina. Okay, particularly at the very back of your eyeball, your retina contains these cells called rods and cones that pick up. That's where your receptors are. Okay, it's in the retina. If your retina detaches from your eyeball, you will go blind. Okay, so if you ever see a lot of black dots, like kind of just like cascading down, that is a bad sign. You should go to the doctor. They might have to reattach your retina. Okay, you've seen a lot of black, like lots of black lines and black dots going down. Yeah.
Wait. Like, what if you like? Does somebody like see that? Like, when you get up too fast, like that.
Oh yeah, those are like white dots. Those are like white dots.
Or like when you do a cartwheel or backline, and then you see like.
Yeah, that's not the same thing. Yeah. Okay, moving on along. Jot this down next to retina. Okay, you have two different kinds of photoreceptors in your retina. You have these things called rods and cones. Rods pick up black and white. They register the colors black and white. Cones register color. How do you remember that? What color is a traffic cone? Orange. Okay, so that's how you remember it. Okay, cones pick up color. Rods pick up black and white. Okay, your rods are used when you're at nighttime. Your night vision is your rods. Okay, in the daytime, usually just your cones. Okay, if you are black-white colorblind, your cones don't pick up any light. Yeah, you only have black and white vision. Yeah, everything is just black and white. Yeah, it's very rare, very rare. Okay, at the very back of your eye, okay, your retina transfers all of all that information via action potentials to the nerve of your eye. Okay, the nerve of your eye is called the optic nerve. Okay, optic nerve. Optic nerve goes to your brain. It is a sensory nerve. Okay, other things real quick. Okay, in right behind your pupil, you have a clear and flexible piece of tissue called the lens. Okay, what that does is it can flex or it can unflex to focus light onto your retina. Okay, you want the light to be focused onto your retina. In fact, if your lens, over time, your lens gets less and less flexible, and that's why over time you can't see things close. Okay, you start becoming farsighted because your lens is becoming less and less flexible. In your eyeball.
Really fast for some people.
Sorry, what?
Does that happen really fast for some people?
If you're farsighted right now, chances are it's because your eyeball has grown too short. Your eyeball, if I were to rip out your eyeball, it'd look like an oval instead of a nice circle. Okay? If you're nearsighted, I'm nearsighted, right? You can only see near, you can't see far away. That's probably because your eyeball looks like an egg that's on its side, like kind of like this shape. Okay? Yeah. Okay. Anyways, yeah. We'll talk about that third quarter. Okay. Inside your eyeball. Okay, inside your eyeball, you have two different kinds of fluid. This fluid also helps you to focus at light. Okay, you have what we call aqueous humor. Okay, aqueous humor is in the front part of your eye, and it's nice, alphabetical from front to back. Aqueous, vitreous. Okay, aqueous, A and V. Aqueous is in the front of your eye. Okay, it's right next to your lens. Vitreous humor is inside of your eyeball itself. Okay, it's more of a jelly-like substance. All right. So here's what I want you to remember. And you're going to review this with your neighbor. Okay, how does light enter into your eyeball? Okay, first has to go through the cornea. Okay, light goes through the cornea. It goes through your pupil. Okay, your iris can open or close your pupil depending upon how much light there is. It goes to the lens. The lens is like a magnifying glass. It focuses that light onto the retina. In the process, it moves through aqueous humor, which is a fluid. It also moves to the vitreous humor. And then once it hits the retina, there's either a rod or a cone that picks up that information and sends it to the optic nerve. Sorry, that's a lot of steps. Yeah, I should have maybe broken up. Cornea, through the pupil, through the lens, to the retina, to the optic nerve.
Cornea to pupil.
Light goes through your cornea, through the pupil, through the lens, through the vitreous humor, through to your retina, to your optic nerve. Okay. All right, turn to your neighbor, see if you can describe the eye to them, how it works. Go.
So how come some people's eyes are deteriorating a lot faster than others?
Genetics.
I've been blind since like kindergarten.
Also, like when you're in front of a screen and you're just watching the screen, your eye muscles don't have to flex and move. Like if you're looking around, your eye muscles are exercised. If you're looking at a screen, your eye muscles are not exercising, and because of that, they and that's why a lot of our generation.
I've had eye problems since like kindergarten, so like.
So the thing is, do your parents wear glasses?
I don't know, my parents adopted.
Oh,
I never met them.
That's true. Sorry. So chances are your parents did have problems with their eyes. The thing is, technology just speeds it up. Yeah. Yeah.
I wasn't really like on an iPad until like.
The eye do they do surgery on when you get
Is that
I'm gonna give my retina removed.
It is a layer, yeah. It's just a sheet of cells. And then all you do is it picks up light.
This is how I
I'm guessing it's sensitivity.
right now.
Well, which one are you struggling? Iris? Iris.
I need to write that down.
So that means your lens can't flex. It's just stuck. So you can only see the small. Yeah. Okay, finish up in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Write this down next to retina. Really, really good question from Caroline. Caroline asks, well, what does your retina do then? What does your retina do? Your retina turns light, it picks up light, and it converts it into electricity. It converts it into an electrical impulse. It converts it into an action potential. Does that make sense? It converts light, and you might think light is the same thing as electricity. It's not the same thing. Okay, but it picks up light and turns it into action potential. Just like your taste. Okay? Logan drinks his orange juice. His taste buds picks up the chemical, probably some sugar, some like citric acid, okay? Turns the chemical into an action potential. Your ears turn, anyone know? Vibrations, okay, it's sound waves that hit your eardrum. We're gonna get to that hopefully in a minute. And it turns that into a action potential, turns it into electrical impulse. All of it's turned into electrical impulses. Okay? Yeah. Okay, good. You guys good on the eye? Any other questions on the eye before we move on? Okay, real quick. You don't have to know any parts for smell. Yay! You just have to know that smell and taste have chemoreceptors in them. When you are eating your lunch next period, or next, you are actually just merely tasting chemicals that are all mixed together, which is pretty amazing. We've been able to manipulate it to make really good tastes. Okay? So your chemoreceptors detect tastes. Things that are acidic taste sour. Things that have salts in them taste salty. Things that have glutamate in it taste kind of savory. Okay, things that have sugar in it taste sweet. Yeah. So on and so forth. Okay. The one thing about your smell and your taste that you should know though is that because of the way it's positioned in your brain, those action potentials go through what we call, so the next slide, they go through what we call the limbic system, emotional pathway. Okay. Why is that important? It's because when you eat something bad, like let's say you eat spaghetti and for some reason it was spoiled, and you have a very bad experience from that, will you eat spaghetti after that? No, why? The next time you eat spaghetti, what is it going to remind you of? That bad experience. That is, taste and smell are the only two senses that kind of do that. It triggers memories because it's linked to your limbic system. It has to go through your limbic system before it gets to your brain. Okay? It has to go through what we call the amygdala before it gets to your brain, your emotional pathway. Yeah.
If I eat a certain food while I'm studying, will that?
Yeah, actually, that's a good point too. Yeah. So if you eat a certain food while you're studying, if you eat that same food later down the road, it could trigger that memory. So for example, real quick, when I was taking organic chemistry in college, one of the biggest songs that was playing was Coldplay's Paradise. Have you guys heard that song? Right? We would play that song all during OChem lab. So now, well, actually, it's not smell or taste, but when I hear that song on the radio or whatever, guess what it reminds me of? It reminds me of organic chemistry, but same thing happens for food and smell because it's linked to our limbic system. Yeah, good point. Okay. That's why they say you should study in the same kind of environment as when you're going to take the test. Because if it's not, like let's say you're studying lying down and then you have to take the test sitting up, it's not going to be the same situation. You're not going to be able to get those memories back. Anyways, okay, moving on quickly. Taste buds, Not super important. Okay, ear. We're going to finish up on the ear. We have 5 minutes. Okay, ear. Your ear is a sense organ for hearing. It picks up mechanical waves. Okay, there are actually mechanoreceptors in your ears, right? There's no sound receptor, right? There's no DESA receptor. Okay? There's no receptor for sound. The receptor for sound is actually a mechanoreceptor. It picks up vibrations in the air. Okay, that is the reason why in space there is no sound. You would hear nothing. Star Wars and Star Trek is totally false. There are no air molecules in space, so you won't hear an explosion in space. It's dead quiet. There's nothing to transfer those sound waves. Anyways, okay, how does it work? Okay, so go to your ear. I'm just gonna explain how ear travels through your ear because that's just how it's gonna. You can memorize the parts through that. Okay, the outside of your ear, these flappers. Okay, it's called the pinna. What is it called? Pinna. Okay, what does it do? It kind of funnels the sound closer to the ear hole. Okay, so if you do this, if you expand your pinna, you can actually hear a lot better, right? You can actually hear a lot farther, a lot better. You expand your pinna. Okay, not close like this, but like you can do this to amplify your ear. The bigger your ears, the better the sound can be funneled. Okay. By the way, your ears are made out of cartilage. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, okay, pinna. It channels it channels those sound waves into what's called the ear canal. Okay, so pinna to ear canal. Ear canal ends with the eardrum. Okay? It is also known as the tympanic membrane. Okay, make sure you write that down in your paper. The eardrum is also known as a tympanic membrane.
How do you spell that?
Okay, tympanic membrane. Tympanic membrane, okay, is your eardrum. Okay. So pinna, ear canal, hits your eardrum. Eardrum starts vibrating. It is literally like a drum. It vibrates. Okay. It passes it on to 3 of the smallest bones in your body. Back to the skeletal system. Okay. We have the malleus, incus, and stapes. Okay. Psychology or physics?
I thought we talked about this like at the start of the year.
We did? Oh, okay, great. Okay, malleus, incus, and stapes. We did. Unfortunately, they have 2 names. Okay. Let's see, do I have it on? Okay, so transfers to the incus, the malleus, incus, and stapes. Okay. Okay, keep going. Okay, the malleus. What does malleus sound like? Does it sound like a mallet? Okay. The other word for malleus is the hammer.
Oh yeah.
Incus is the anvil. What is an anvil? You know in Lord of the Rings where they're like hammering the sword on this block? Okay, that's an anvil. Okay. Hammer, anvil, and stirrup. Okay, unfortunately, you gotta know both names. Okay, stirrup. What is a stirrup? Yeah, stirrup is that little thing that you used to step up to the horse, so you can step up and then straddle the horse. Okay, that's a stirrup. I don't know if you can see it. It actually looks like a little stirrup. It looks like a little place you can put your foot. Okay, so yeah. All right, so let's review again. Sound waves, pinna, eardrum or ear canal, eardrum. Then it hits. Then the eardrum vibrates. That vibration goes to your malleus, incus, stapes. Then where does it go? Then it goes into this thing called the semicircular canals. There's only one name for that. Yay! Semicircular canals.
What's the other word for malleus?
Hammer.
Oh.
Doesn't it sound like hammer, like a mallet? Okay, malice. Okay. Semicircular canal, and then after the semicircular canal, whoops. Okay, semicircular canal. Then it goes to this. Okay, by the way, on your paper, right? These semicircular canals. It looks like a roller coaster. Okay. Then it goes to what we call the cochlea. The cochlea is the retina of your ear. Okay, it's the thing that converts your vibrations into an action potential. Okay, cochlea is really important. The cochlea looks like this snail. Okay, it looks like this snail, and it transfers it to the auditory nerve. Just like you have the optic nerve, you have the auditory nerve. Okay. All right, try that. We have 1 minute left. See if you can review that with your neighbor. We'll pick this up on Monday. Yeah, so you can do that.
Tree smells from
Yes. Sometimes. Or vice versa. Sometimes a smell will trigger a memory.
Can it be the other way? They like convince you.
I mean, yeah. If I say, what does a fart smell like? You can kind of.
Would you give like the smell?
What do you mean?
If you like said like like a fart, you go like retrieve that smell from your memory.
Like, what did the farm smell like?
Yeah, or something like that.
You
Like,
could. Or like, what does? If I said, what does axe? The axe smell like?
I kind of wanted to
You kind of have a memory of what it smells like.
haunting memories.
Yeah, haunting memories of middle school.
Seventh grade.
Yeah.
Seventh grade hallway.
Exactly.
No, they didn't even like do it in the bathroom. They would just do it in the hallway, and it was like the whole hallway.
Yeah, that's pretty terrible.
It was like
All right, see you guys. Yeah. But it is fascinating how our senses can sometimes trigger memories.
Bye, Mr. Sharon.
Goodbye, Cindy. Goodbye, Ryan. Have a great day. Good work for today.